What up, America? What up, world? Welcome to a Better Black America podcast, the number one podcast, the number one urban podcast, stateside and worldwide. Now, today is Thursday, March 17th, 2022. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Now, the American people did not order this. The American people did not order this. Apparently, and this has been confirmed by the Associated Press, while in a press conference, our Vice President, Madam Vice President, Kamala Harris, a.k.a. Kamala Harris, when asked, how do you feel or what do you have to say to the American people to understand what they're going through right now, to understand from their perspective in terms of inflation, gas prices, wars, crimes, and things out of hand. And Kamala Harris said, the American people got exactly what they ordered. Damn. I know without a shadow of a doubt, when any individual went and voted, they did not vote for this. Now, we were played like a piano. They forced us to stop dealing with Lucifer. And I'm saying it from metaphoric perspective that Trump would probably be the devil to them. But somehow they convinced us to not vote for Lucifer, but to elect Satan. Like, seriously. We are worse off just in one physical year under the Biden administration than we was pre-Obama. Now, Build Back Better is starting to be a dog whistle word or dog whistle phrase for regime change and nation build. Now, any military person will tell you that that's the mission, regime change and nation build. Now, how can you regime change and nation build when you have a sitting president that's not a part of this new world or one world order? And this is what we were dealing with when we was dealing with Donald Trump. Now, Build Back Better. They say we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but we yet fight against powers and principalities and evildoers in high places. So these powers and these evildoers in high places are all on board for this particular reshift in the world of what we see today. Clearly, reboots, systems been starting over. Clearly, we unplugged our gas connection. We don't want to produce oil. We're still buying oil from Russia. Now, if you live in, the United States of America and you're having issues and you've seen that some Shell gas stations, because I heard reports this morning that 2 Shell stations were shut down when people went to get gas because a large volume of Shell's contracts come through Russian oil, Russian crude. So what are we going to do? So it looks like if you are part of the Green New Deal, you're going to use this as an opportunity. You're going to use it as an opportunity to press for green legislation. And if this takes any traction, that means we'll be seeing double-digit gas prices, meaning gas prices over $10 a gallon, if they use this as an opportunity. Now, any and everybody knows you have to phase yourself off of things. We didn't phase ourselves off of the energy. We literally unplugged everything, not knowing the effect. And if we did know the effect, then we can't sit back and call this Putin's gas hike or Putin's inflation. We know evildoers and liars point the finger at their adversaries, meaning if I point the finger first, then I'll get people to believe that you are the one. Because if you look at Russia versus Ukraine, I really paid attention to that because of the Holocaust, and it was a Jewish Holocaust, and Hitler was doing some type of ethnic cleansing. And when I see Vladimir Putin says that we need to cleanse the Russian race or the Russian community. What is he cleansing it from? He's cleansing it from Judaism. Do the research. Look up Ukraine. 85% of Ukraine citizens were practicing Christianity, and they call it Orthodox Christianity. And it looks like Jewish people, like Orthodox Jews, but these are Orthodox Christians. But these are the certain type of Christians who don't believe in the resurrection. These are certain types of Christians who don't believe in the afterlife. These are certain type of Christians that you would consider liberal, who don't literally believe in God. They believe in God, but they believe in no consequence. Because if you don't believe in heaven, you'll do anything because you know if you believe it doesn't exist. So you are not going to be on your best behavior here because you don't even see yourself participating in seeing if you can get into the pearly gates. And this is where the difference of Christianity or Christians come from. And a lot of times the Bible sets the record straight, because if you look in the Bible, you got Pharisees and Sadducees, conservatives, liberals, believers versus non-believers, plain sight. So this is why we cannot really get too much involved with what's going on, because no one has ever run to the aid of a black man here in America. Nobody, a foreign entity, have not come to the American government. So you have to stop doing that to the black people. Nobody has said that. So why are we hook, line, and sinker? Oh, I stand for Ukraine. How can you stand for something that don't even know you exist? And how can you stand for something that don't stand with you? You're not white. You're not Aryan. You don't really and truly know what's going on. But at the end of the day, Russia wants that land back because of the energy, because of the nutrients and natural resources and minerals that come from that country. You see that they're having a lot of issues dealing with terrain. And those are the perfect climates for minerals, and which ultimately becomes money. But when you talk about war games, it is strategic to make sure that your enemy cannot set up shop next door. Could you imagine if Vladimir Putin was in Mexico, cut a deal with the Mexican government and start building nuclear sites and start building launch pads and bases that can actually shoot missiles that can actually hit the United States unabated coming through Mexico? What do you think the American government would do? Well, if Biden was in office, he probably wouldn't do nothing. But if we had a real president, I'm not going to say no names. That's not from a war perspective, from an advantageous perspective. That's not a good move. We will not let that happen. Cuba tried to get in, hook up with Russia, and Russia tried to get into Cuba. So this is why a lot of these things was going on. America purchased Alaska and Hawaii. Strategic. Could you imagine if we did not have Hawaii and the Japanese was able to make it to the shores of sunny Southern California, the shores of Portland, or the shores of Washington State? Could you imagine that? So why would a president who's responsible for his country, who's responsible for the future, because the documentation of history is the most important element. You're telling a story. You're documenting your history. This is why they said this war is a war of images. And look at all the practice that the cameramen got when they was here in California. You know, when they was taking images of the George Floyd's riots or uprisings all over the country. White men with black helmets, all black, with cameras, documenting, taking pictures, documenting. And they show these images around the world. And when you have a language barrier, you can only see what you see. But if they're not talking and telling you what's going on, they can manipulate you to thinking that what you see is not true. And this is what they're doing to us. I don't speak Russian. So is there somebody vetting the translators? Because when I see Putin speak, he speaks, but then it'd be another voice, seems nervous and scared, look like they're reading an entirely different script than what's really going on. But this grand distraction, why are we so worried and concerned about what's going on abroad? Because it's a design and it's pretty much the blueprint to distract. See how we don't know what's going on in Chicago with the murder rate? We don't know what's going on in Baltimore. We don't know what's going on in Detroit. We don't know what's going on in Georgia. We don't know what's going on in New York City, Bronx, Queens. We don't know what's going on in L.A., South Central, Watts, Compton. We don't know what's going on in Oakland, San Francisco, SAC. We don't know. But what we do know is when they decide to make a decision to make some changes to basically handicap us or to continue to box in the black race, then we'll just sit back and not have a plan and let them do what they do. But I'm here to challenge you, to basically make you think and to live outside the box and understand that there's no way we can continue on this dead end. Now, if you knew that this street was a cul-de-sac, there was a dead end, would you smash on the gas unabated, knowing that there's a brick wall? No, you will proceed with caution. And if you're smart, you'll make that U-turn and you'll get up out of there and find a street that's straight way. But this grand distraction, don't vote for Trump. He's Lucifer. Vote for Joe Biden because he's Satan. Listen, evil begets evil. Evil is evil. There's no such a thing as lesser of the two. If somebody said that you have to pick one, terminal cancer or terminal AIDS, but you're going to die at the same time, which one you going to pick? You got to pick one. You got to pick one. I'm looking right now. I ain't picking nothing because I'm better than that. But for us to sit back as a people and to be hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, this is why we're running amok. And somebody told me we'll never get it together because of the black woman. And I pleaded with them and I said, well, the black woman is doing, what she has to do to survive, because she's not going to thrive until there's a agenda that she can support that's going to uplift not only her, but her people. Because that black nuclear family is what we need to get to. I saw a Facebook post today and it said it had 1960. It was a man and a woman. Man was dressed in a suit. The lady was beautiful, dressed in a beautiful dress. They had 3 kids. It was a family. And then the bottom said 2000s and it said what happened. It was a single mom with 4 kids all by herself. And everybody was looking unhappy and hungry. It takes a village to raise the villagers. I don't want to sound, cliché-ish, but we do have to do over our first work. And just imagine if we was around in 1865 when they tried to put the criminalization clause in the 13th Amendment and somebody objected and said, hey, we can't do this because Abraham Lincoln just freed the slaves. So if we put a criminalization clause in the Constitution, either slavery nor involuntary servitude unless criminalized, then we're putting them back in slavery. And they looked and said, exactly, and have not addressed it not one time. Now, I would hope to think that the Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement had a long plan, in which I know they did, because when Dr. King did the March on Washington and he did the I Have a Dream speech, he was there to present, and you could do the research, the Poor People's Party. The Poor People's Party. And he got afraid because of the CIA and FBI agents that was cutting their necks and telling them, if you go along with this, we're going to kill you. So he started to stutter. And one of his female friends said, Martin, tell him about the dream. And there you go. I have a dream. And he said it himself. His dream became a nightmare. They pretty much blacked out all of his writings and teachings and most of his interviews during the last 2 years of his life, because he began to be a little more radical, because he started to see that this assimilation thing that they were trying to do never happened, because they picked all the Judases to be a part of them. And this is why we cannot be a part of the 2-party system, because they know who to pick. They know how to manipulate. They know how to steal narratives.